Hey, welcome back, everyone. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I am a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas, and we're coming back at you with another Thursday tip. This week, we're going to be talking a little bit about management, or at least management versus leadership. What's the difference? Why should you care? So we have to look at this first as what is management? What is leadership? How do we define that? Here at Action Coach, we look at the management is a process where leadership is an art form. Management is about building competent and productive people, where leadership is more about the creation of passionate and focused team members or people within the team. And it's really important to have both of these in your organization, both the process of management that creates the competency, that creates productivity, and the art form that is passion and focus driven. We also have to understand that they can't really go one without the other. You have to have some management, you have to have some leadership, and the levels of each depends on a few different factors. So when we look at management as an example, and I know that can be some negative connotations around management is a bad word today, micromanagement, things like that, but it's really important to have levels of management, especially earlier on when it comes to hiring new team members. So when we look at management, or even micromanagement, there is a level of that is necessary when you first bring team members onto your team. Regardless of how good they were in previous roles, or if they've done this type of thing before, they have not been a part of your organization. They don't have competency and productivity in your business, your organization, at least not yet. So in the beginning, there's going to need to be a bit of handholding. We're going to have to teach them how to take these baby steps starting out. Train them on our systems, train them on different things like that. We have to ensure that they hit key KPIs and key metrics and key markers to ensure that they actually achieve success in the business or in their role. So there is micromanagement that's required early on in the process of bringing on new team members. Now, as they move through the process, as they go through, they ultimately graduate up to greater levels of independence. Now, this can be short term, depending on the role, depending on the person. There is, the time it takes to move from always being micromanaged to having a lot of freedom and knowing that there's a lot of support and knowing that the team member can be focused even without the micromanagement. That time frame can change depending on role, depending on the type of person. Some people may get there much faster, others may take a little bit longer time. But it's about ensuring that we have that competency and productivity, because competency and productivity is ultimately going to be what allows us to help our team achieve success. They have to be successful, right? Not just for our business, but for themselves. They typically want some level of success in the role that they're taking. So we have to create that management up first. Then we can continue to develop into leadership. And it's not that it's one without the other. It's only management up front, and then we get into leadership. It's more, think about them as weighted areas, right? They're both there. But in the beginning, management might be a little bit higher. A little bit later on, leadership may be a little bit higher. But we need to understand that there is both of them happening at the same time. So here today in our Thursday tip, I want to go through 5 tips on management and then ultimately the 4 components of leadership. I'm not going to dive tremendously deep into leadership today, but I want to make sure that we at least touch on a few of those things here. So starting with management, we've got our 5 management tips. The first one here is to start with the daily and the weekly list. So what is the daily and the weekly list? The daily list is nothing more than having your team member actually sit down at the end of every day and write out what are the action items, what are the major key things that they need to accomplish for the next day. So let's just take an example and say that on an average day, the team is done at 5 o'clock. So about 4:50 or 4:55, the team is sitting down and they're actually writing out what are the 4, 5, 6 items that have to be accomplished tomorrow to be successful in my role, to be successful here on this team. What must be accomplished tomorrow? Let's write those out. And it's usually no more than 5 or 6. If we start having them put more than that on the list, it's going to be very difficult to ensure that we prioritize correctly and get the things done that need to be done. So we start with what are those 5 or 6 things that have to get accomplished, and writing them down consistently day in and day out before the next day. Now, what do we do with this list? We have our team send it to us as managers so that we take a look at it. And in the beginning, we may be looking at every single daily list that comes in. And that's to ensure that they're doing the right things. They're doing the things that are going to help them be successful. Again, our job as managers is to ensure that our team has success, not just success in the department, but success for themselves in the role. So for us to be able to have those daily lists, especially early on, being able to see, are you doing the right activities? How can I guide you better? These are really, really important to get into that habit. Again, as time goes on and these team members grow and develop and become more mature within your business specifically, they're going to graduate to more independence, right? So in that process, having to do and actually send those daily lists every day may not become as important. It's important that they're doing it every day, but it may not be as important to send them every day. But we got to start that habit of doing that process, that habit of knowing what is upcoming the next day on a consistent basis. So that's part one of that. Part two of the daily weekly list is the weekly list. Same basic principle, but now at the end of day on Friday, you've got your daily list for Monday, but you're also looking at the weekly list, the overarching things that have to be accomplished next week. Once again, being sent to the manager every week so that we can understand and help guide them to success. So the second management tip here that we're going to go through here today is the Monday work in progress meeting. So this could be a Monday powwow meeting, Monday huddle. You can call these, whatever you want to call it. Here in Action Coach, we call them work in progress meetings. But this is nothing more than bringing your team or your department together on a Monday, sitting down and saying, what is all the work that's in progress? What do we have to focus on this week? What are y'all individually responsible for and taking ownership of this week? And how can the team collectively help you achieve success? So that we all have an idea of what everyone is working on and can come together and ensure that we achieve success as a team versus only individually. So that's the Monday work in progress meeting. Management tip number 3 is going to be weekly one-to-ones. If you're not currently doing one-to-ones with your team members, 100% say that is something that has to be accomplished. You have to sit down with your team, especially early on, every week. Sit down, dedicate 20 minutes. Doesn't have to be much longer than that. Sometimes you'll need a little bit more. Sometimes you'll need a little bit less. But on average, about 20 minutes. Sit down with your team member. It can be virtually and actually go through what are the KPIs standards? How are they in achieving those for this week? If it's a Monday through Friday job and you've got your, let's say your one-to-ones on Thursdays, it allows you to take a look at that with them and say, hey, here's where we are so far this week. Now, how do we help you achieve success by the end of this week? We still have a day and a half or 2 days left. What can we do to help you achieve success and hit those numbers, hit those KPIs so that you can be successful by the end of this week? So we always start with numbers, but it's also an opportunity to say, what are some of the objections? What are some of the challenges that you're faced with? Hurdles, roadblocks, things like that. How can I help you overcome those? And understanding what's going on in their own life so that you can actually create the path for them. And again, this is all about helping them achieve success so that you can all achieve success together. Tip number 4 is developing a personal plan. So in business, we always talk about creating the 90-day plan, the annual plan, things like that. Now, we should be doing that by department, by team, but it's also really important to be doing that 90-day plan or that personal plan for each team member. What is it that's going to help them be successful each week of this quarter to get to the desired outcome by the end of the quarter? What types of learning do they need to do? What type of support do they need? What's important to them that needs to be on that personal plan? Helps us create that roadmap of how we guide them and manage through with them throughout the quarter. And point number 5 is walk around. Be visible, especially if you're in an office environment where you have the ability to walk around and see your team. Be visible, be out there, be a part of the organization, be a part of that team, and let them know that you are there to support them, to guide them, to answer questions, and ultimately create a level of accountability so that they know that they have to be doing the job that they're there for as well. So it does kind of play a couple different roles there. So those are my 5 management tips for you this afternoon. The 4 components of leadership. Let's touch on that for a moment. First one here is vision. As a leader, now we're shifting away from the process and we're shifting towards passionate and focused, that art form that is leadership. We need to understand that number 1 component of this is vision. Being able to articulate and share the vision of the department, of the team, of the organization overall. Share that. Have a common goal that the team can be enrolled and inspired by. So as a leader, that is your role, is to help enroll and inspire your team on the common goal, on the vision of where you're headed, so that you can all achieve that success together. Component number 2 is going to be culture. Culture is really the environment. What type of environment is there for your team? Bringing that together, making them feel safe, secure, challenged in a way, but knowing that they have the ability and the support necessary to be successful in the role and be successful in this business. Third one's really important. It's communication. We talk about communication being the true response that you get. What does that mean? Well, if I say something to you and you say something back, that response that I get is the true response. That is my responsibility for the communication that I get. That is what I mean by the true response is the true communication is the response that we get back. So it's really important that when we think about teams and communicating with our teams, you understand how we communicate with others and learning that skill set, especially as leaders. It's not about how we want to communicate with them, but learning how they want to be communicated with and shifting and adapting our ability so that we can communicate on their level. And number 4 on the components of leadership here today is going to be congratulations. Celebrating the wins, either individually or as a team. But when somebody does something, whether it's big or small, and accomplishes something that is successful, telling them congratulations, celebrating that with them, really, really important to create that environment and create some leadership within the team. So there's the 4 components of leadership. Management and leadership, both really, really important to have in your organization. One can't really go without the other, shouldn't be going without the other, but you've got to understand that there is a level of management required early on. Leadership graduates and goes up even more as the team continues to develop. But you've got to have both of those here. So here at Action Coach, we have the ability to train and teach managers all across the world. And here, upcoming in January of 2023, we are going to be launching our next round of the Management Masterclass, which is 12 weeks, just an hour per week, where we'll actually take your team, your managers, your management team, and guide them through these principles, help them become better, more productive, more effective, empowering managers. If this is something that you're interested in, I'll put the link in the description here below. Click it, take a look at it. Feel free to reach out to our team. We'd love to have some of your managers come in and be a part of this organization, be a part of growing managers and leaders and becoming even more productive and more empowering for your business. My name is Tanner O'Brien. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend here with me today for today's Thursday tip. Enjoy the rest of your day.